We don't give ourselves enough time to settle in. We're always on to the next thing. That is what we're talking about today on Receptive Radio. Welcome. Thank you for coming. Thank you for watching the recording. Thank you for all the people who are binge watching me that I have found out about lately. I really appreciate that. And so this is episode 3, the final episode of the Triple Crown of Transformation. Settle in. And I had to come up with the topic this week. I didn't know it beforehand. I was wondering, what is the third part of this Triple Crown of Transformation? Moving, number 1, cleaning, number 2, 3 is settling in. And it took a while to get here, even though I was actually in the property or in this new place. Moving and cleaning were happening for a while, like a month and a half. And now only in just the last week has it felt like I have dropped into settling in. And before I start anything new, I'm going to stay here for a while. Stay in the settling in process, the integration process. It is a common problem that we all have is we don't let ourselves, and I do this too, it's not just you or the audience, it's me too. We don't let ourselves process or digest our experiences. We're not integrating what is happening to us for long enough or at all before we get into the next thing. And I think that that's a product of work, like of being an employee or working at a desk or something. We always have to move on to the next thing because we're watching our time, we're controlling our hours and all this kind of stuff. We got to put in so many hours, be so productive that we can't even assimilate what we just did. I got this a lot, like when I was in accounting. People would ask you questions, they'd give you a problem that they want solved. And sometimes I didn't have the answer for you right away. And it was thinking. It took time to think about. It took time to actually just sit with the issue, to understand what all the components of it are. And then maybe a week later, maybe 2 weeks later, have a result, have an answer. And that's what it takes sometimes when we're in a process. We can't always get the answer right away because it's still working itself out. There's still stuff to be moved or cleaned or seen to settle in before it can get integrated to be processed. And I have been feeling that. I have kind of been on an up and down wave this week of feeling like, oh, okay, I'm finally landing here. I'm finally rooting in. It started about Sunday. And there was a full moon on Sunday. I think Mercury retrograde went back to forward motion, which, I don't make these excuses, but the planets do affect us. We are all connected. And that is what shamanism is nature is connected to everything. And we are nature, and the planets are nature, and the stars are nature, and the trees and the land and the cats. One sitting right beside me here, you can't see him right now, but we're all connected. And the process of moving and cleaning and settling in is all connected. And so when we acknowledge that everything is connected, then we can feel how things are connected. And it doesn't always feel like it's completely connected and working full throttle or 100%, because it's still like, oh, this is a new connection. I have to get used to this connection. I haven't felt this connection before, so I'm not, you're still integrating it. You're still processing how it works. And so it's important that we keep time open to process, digest, and integrate new experiences. so that we can experience it. It's like when somebody dies, we go through a grief process. We have a celebration of life. There's a process before we let it go. And moving to this new property, like from being in one place from 7 years, has affected my business, has affected my personal life, has affected my relationship. It's small, there's a whole new thing going on that I'm moving into. And it's a metaphor at the same time too. It's like an actual physical metaphor of your life, of a transformation that is happening on the outside, like you're witnessing it, you're seeing it, it's happening. And then there's something going on inside as well. And you're looking at it and you're feeling it and you're understanding it and you're experiencing it. And it's really good to go through these processes and to just not have it be fixed. Don't try to change it. Just go through it. Experience it. And that's what my shamanic teachers have taught me, is that we don't experience our experiences enough. We don't let ourselves feel it physically. We don't let ourselves go through it emotionally. We don't let ourselves to have new insights around it. We don't want to feel the energy of it if it's uncomfortable, for sure. Like we're trying to run away from feeling uncomfortable instead of hanging out with being uncomfortable, which is what I've been doing. I've been feeling really uncomfortable for 2 months because it's been moving into a new paradigm. One of my friends, Melissa, said to me the other day, it's like a whole new paradigm. And that's what it is. It's a whole new paradigm. And it's good. It's good. It's happening for the best. But it's not always comfortable. And so imagine on a bigger scale in the world having a great transformation into a new world. It's not going to be comfortable. The process is not going to be comfortable. But we got to get used to not being comfortable, because the comfort zone is just the status quo. It's just staying stuck. But if we get used to, in our lives, things that are happening for the better, aren't always comfortable, then we can be more prepared when things on a grander scale happen that are big changes. And so what has happened, I'm just looking at my notes here. I've settled in. I was able to work at my desk more, come back to working instead of like setting things up. I'm having my first, it's not one of my old clients, my regular clients is finally coming. I'm having my first in-person session in my small little office here today. And I had a really amazing keynote speaking gig yesterday in Kitsilano, downtown Vancouver, to a whole new group of people that I was invited to speak to. And it was 45 minutes. And it was amazing. And it's just something I really want. I've been working on for 3 years, honing that ability, practicing to be a speaker, creating a keynote speech. And it was all about distractions, how we distract ourselves from our highest potential, from our success. And it's very similar to what I'm talking about right now. It's like we don't want to experience feeling different or making a good change for ourselves. So we'll, bypass it. We'll bypass it because it might be uncomfortable. Distract ourselves with that. But that's a different topic, a different speech. But that's what I was touching on, and it was good. It was finally kind of came together after a long time of working with it. And thanks to doing the show 20 minutes a week the last 2 years, I've gotten really comfortable right in front of people, right in person. So it's been great having this platform. And the practice for today about settling in and experiencing your experiences before moving on to the next is just, you don't have to do it right now, but when you have time, practice is to write down how you want to rest over the next 2 weeks before January starts. Winter is the time to rest and hibernate, but we're not bears, so we do have to keep life moving. But it is the time to go inside. It is the time to look more at downtime, at settling into your energy on what it wants. And if we're connected with nature, if we're all in sync with nature, nature is showing us it's the time to start resting. But we have a different plan because we're in this working world. We have to work. And we're in this program of 2 weeks vacation and all that kind of stuff. So work with it, however it shows up for you. But make some intentions around, how am I going to rest? Where am I going to fit it in? Even maybe put on your calendar if you are a very organized person and that's what you follow your life by and your schedule by. Make sure you put on your calendar power blocks of rest, whole days of rest. I remember when I was working at the office and around this time, I didn't book days off around Christmas or New Year's. I was so pissed off about it. Like, why didn't I take these days off? Because you would go into the office and half the people are there. The energy is like nobody wants to be there. And you don't want to get in. I mean, it's like you're pushing paper around on your desk and your body is tired. It needs the rest. So book it off if you can and take the time to rest. When we can rest, we can be more productive later. And what else could you do as a practice? You could look out the window and just stare at what is out there. Watch the birds. I have been doing this a lot because it's a new view. I haven't looked at this view for 7 years. It's just a brand new view, and there's lots of forest and trees around us. And I put out my bird feeders, and the squirrels are there too. And there's all these different birds that I didn't have in my other yard. I love watching them, and they're just really interesting. They're just showing me playful how they play. I can stare at them for hours, and I don't have to think about anything while I'm watching them. So you can do stuff like that. Look out the window and see what's going on outside. The other thing is Solstice is coming on Saturday. And I know I have a Solstice healing ceremony. It's online. It's about 30 minutes. You don't have to drive to it. I like it simple. I like it compact. And it's at 10 a.m. Pacific time. And I know that there are so many other ceremonies going on that you can go to for hours, and they're really elaborate and all of that. That's not for me. And I know that there's other people out there that's too much. It's more of an alone thing for me. I don't need to be in a big ceremony and drive 3 hours to honor the solstice. I can just do it by myself in 30 minutes and then rest. And I think that is the honoring of the solstice. It's the longest night of the year. And during the nighttime, you're supposed to sleep and rest and dream. So that's how I like to honor it. And it's simple. It's simple. It shouldn't be hard. It shouldn't be hard resting. And I know that Christmas is coming up next week, and Receptive Radio is going to take the next 2 Thursdays off, and we're going to be back on, let's get the date here. I have interviews coming up for January and February that I'm going to be hosting with guests. I'm really excited about that. And so we'll be off on December 26th and January 3rd, and we'll come back with our very first episode on January 9th. And we'll be interviewing Linda Binns, energy expert. And then we'll have Prableen Ajula is coming. Caroline Millet, a dating coach. And Prableen's a visualization accountability coach. And then we have Del Lewis, serial entrepreneur and one of my business coaches. He's amazing. And there is one more, Hannah Blackburn. She is a nervous system expert, somatic expert. And then there'll be more throughout the year. I'll be doing more interviews. So if you are interested in being interviewed on Receptive Radio, please send me a DM and I can send you a form to fill out to get on the list. And I'm really excited about resting for the next 2 weeks. Just getting into more of a rest flow state, looking out the window, and I encourage you to do that as well. So I'll put in the comments below the link to the winter solstice ceremony. It's at Saturday, December 21st on the solstice at 10 a.m. It's 30 minutes. You just can receive and rest and relax into, what can better than you can imagine come from resting. Have a great afternoon. Thank you so much for all of your support for 2024. And I'm really looking to seeing how we can up-level Receptive Radio for 2025 and what comes through during this rest time of dreaming and creating. Aho.